Greetings to all of you. I want to talk today about the upcoming full moon on December 15th. I'd like to show you the chart and look at some of the significant aspects in the chart, but spend more time today on looking at the visual astrology. I truly believe, as I mentioned in a recent video, that we are going to be experiencing significant shifts in how we work with astrology as we are now moving more fully into the age of Aquarius, particularly with this energy of Pluto now fully in the sign of Aquarius. I think that this time, this movement into the Aquarian age is calling us to shift our paradigms, to move into new ways of seeing and being. And that will affect how we work with astrology also. I think one of the themes of the movement into the age of Aquarius is that we are remembering and reconnecting with ancient wisdom to bring that forward into our integration with modern knowledge in this time. It is the rebalancing of left brain and right brain ways of knowing, of integrating our capacity to analyze and synthesize information, our left brain ways of knowing, with our intuition, our empathy, our capacity to be more directly engaged with what we're experiencing, right brain ways of knowing. So I think as we're working with astrology, we need to honor those shifts and the ways in which we're called to more and more intuit the meanings of these energies that we're experiencing. And I truly believe part of what we're being called into with this new Aquarian form of astrology is to come back into more direct relationship with the planets and stars, to be in more communication and communion with them, to be in relationship with them so that they are speaking to us and through us, rather than our seeing them as objects outside of us to be analyzed and deciphered as if they're material objects, not conscious beings. So I think we're being called back into relationship with the stars and planets, back into relationship with the sky, to move from focusing on the chart to coming back into our visual connection with the sky. So let's hold that awareness and allow yourself to feel into the meanings of these energies as we look at the chart and then look more fully at where these planets and the sun and moon are in the sky at the time of this full moon. Let's look at the chart. But you can see that the full moon on December 15th will be at 23 degrees of Gemini, opposite the sun at 23 degrees of Sagittarius. This opposition of Sagittarius and Gemini speaks to that theme of honoring our left brain and right brain ways of knowing. Gemini is much more about our analytical mind, our ability to learn and gather information. Sagittarius is much more that right brain way of knowing and how we synthesize and integrate what we've learned to honor the deeper meaning of things. Sagittarius is more about wisdom, and Gemini is more about knowledge. But this full moon in its opposition is calling us to come to center and to balance those ways of knowing and ways of being. What's very significant is they're also in a T-square with Neptune in Pisces. And remember that Neptune is that planet that relates to our 8th chakra. That is the energy center that is about arm's distance above our heads and is the bridge between our experience of being in this realm and our connection to cosmic consciousness. That we are a part of the oneness of all that is, which is what Neptune reminds us of. And being that eighth chakra, it opens us to that expansive awareness of our interconnectedness with all that is, that our being a part of cosmic consciousness. I see this powerful T square as supporting us in dissolving the paradigms of the past to open to new ways of seeing and being, to allow ourselves to be in this time of spiritual expansion and accelerated change and shifts in our consciousness. This configuration is guiding us to let go of the beliefs from the past. Jupiter is very involved in this full moon, being conjunct the moon opposite the sun, and it was actively involved at the time of the new moon. So we're being encouraged to change our beliefs, to let go of these old paradigms from the past, and to be in this process of transformation with Neptune, supporting us in dreaming in new ways of being, in visualizing and energizing these new paradigms and this movement into our new experience of ourselves and this new earth together. The Sabian symbol for 27 degrees of Neptune is a fertile garden under the full moon. How beautiful is that? That this planet squaring this full moon is at the Sabian symbol, a fertile garden under the full moon. And the meaning of that Sabian symbol is that as we open to our connection to cosmic consciousness, to this spiritual reality that we are a part of and at one with, as we look to Source and to our connection with cosmic consciousness, we can begin to see reality through the eyes of cosmic consciousness, through the eyes and knowing of our soul selves. And then we are capable of becoming whatever we idealize and visualize. I believe this powerful full moon is reminding us of the power of our consciousness. In this critical time of transition and change, the answers will not come through technology or through the paradigms of the past. Our way of transitioning into a new earth, into becoming luminous ones, beings of light, will be by dissolving the ways of the past and honoring that we are soul selves, infinite beings, part of the oneness of all that is. And we can align with cosmic consciousness, align with our soul selves, and then dream those new ways of being into reality as we co-create with cosmic consciousness. And I think this full moon is a powerful time to honor your dreams and to be open to the guidance from cosmic consciousness, the guidance coming through the sun and the moon to support us in beginning to visualize who we can become and what this new earth can be that we're moving into. And I think other themes that are powerful in the time of this full moon are we are continuing to be in the powerful opposition of Pluto and Mars. Mars has now gone retrograde as of December 8th and will be retrograde until February 23rd. And remember that retrograde is the energy of turning inward, of being in a more reflective state. So I've talked quite a bit about the meaning of this opposition between Pluto and Mars, guiding us to transform our understanding of Mars and our ways of acting and expressing ourselves to come back into a more balanced understanding of Mars and to align our personal will, Mars, with divine will, the will and ways of cosmic consciousness, Pluto. But as Mars is now retrograde, it's encouraging us to reflect on how we're working with that Mars energy and how we're working with the energy of the sacred masculine within us. It's profound that Mars is now also opposite Venus, and they will be in an opposition with each other within a 5-degree orb from December 8th through the 16th. And I think this is very much about how these new ways that we're dreaming in the new earth and who we are becoming will not only be a rebalancing of left brain, right brain ways of knowing, but will be a rebalancing of the energies of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. The age of Aquarius is calling us to move out of the hierarchical, power over patriarchal paradigms of the past to rebalance and revision those energies of masculine and feminine and reintegrate them in a new way. Keone Hanalei and I recently did a video on how these out of balanced expressions of Mars coming out of the age of Aries have continued through into the age of Pisces and thrown that age out of balance. And we talked quite in depth about how we need to heal and remember the balanced energy of Aries and of Mars in order to be moving into the age of Aquarius in a more balanced way, in a way that is honoring the deeper meaning of these new paradigms that we're moving into. So I think this configuration is helping us transform Pluto, bring into this profound cauldron of transformation our understanding of the sacred masculine and sacred feminine to bring them back into balance. It's interesting that there is so much political polarization in the world right now. And here in the United States, there is so much polarization around being woke, around equal rights, around what it means for us to break out of old ways of understanding gender and sexuality. I think what we need to be visioning is that these energies of the age of Aquarius calling us back into rebalancing the energies of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine is much deeper than fighting for or advocating for equal rights. This is, and in reaction to that, what we see in the culture right now is an extreme expression of some of these old paradigms in an out of balanced way. And I think we're seeing a lot of manifestations of toxic masculinity and this kind of caricature of the distorted image of Mars coming out of the warrior cultures of the age of Aries that were an out of balanced expression of Mars. So this full moon is saying dissolve all of those paradigms from the past, reconfigure what it means, and be in a process of transformation about what it means to rebalance the energies of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. I want to return to this theme, but let's look more deeply at where these energies are in the sky and how that might continue to inform us in how to understand the themes of this full moon. At the time of the full moon, the sun is close to the galactic center and is under the feet of the healer Ophiuchus. With the sun here close to the galactic center, it is guiding us to be visualizing these new ways of being by being in alignment with Source, our galactic center. And being under the feet of Ophiuchus, the theme that we've seen playing out in these recent new moons and full moons is very much about the importance of the healing we need to go through to come back into balance, to be moving into these new paradigms of the Aquarian age. Ophiuchus is the great healer. He is the serpent bearer who is a profound model of the integration of the energies of the sacred feminine, the serpent being one of the oldest known images of the sacred feminine, and the energy of the sacred masculine. So Ophiuchus is guiding us in how to come into that synthesis and that reintegration of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. The full moon is here in the sky, right at the tip of one of the horns of the bull of Taurus, right next to Elnath. And Elnath is an interesting star in that it is both in the constellation Taurus, but also the constellation Auriga. And this constellation has been known since Greek and Roman times as the charioteer, the great horseman. And here's what I want you to think about as we look at these stars and the meanings of these stars and how they've changed across time. Again, each astrological age is guiding us into new paradigms and new ways of conceiving of ourselves, and you can think of it as another lesson in our evolutionary journey. And let's talk some about the meaning of the journey of our movement through the age of Taurus that the stars of Taurus symbolize. And this full moon is now powerfully in that constellation. The age of Taurus, approximately 4000 to 2000 BCE, was the time when we honored the sacredness of the earth. There were a lot of agricultural communities. There were no signs of war in the age of Taurus. It was a time of creativity, of artistic expression, of honoring the sacred feminine. Venus was seen as a primary deity in ancient Sumer and other cultures. The bull and cow were seen as sacred, and the horned bulls and cows were seen as symbols of the sacred feminine, of fertility, of creation, of our being protected and guided and nurtured by the energies of the earth, the energies of the sacred feminine. This was the time in ancient Egypt where Hathor, the cow with the horns, was seen as the great mother, giving birth to the sun, and the horns of the bull symbolizing the crescent moon. So it was such a powerful symbol of everything being in right order, right balance. This great loving goddess of the sky overseeing us and nurturing us, supporting us, protecting us, and holding everything in right relationship. It's interesting that as we move out of the age of Taurus into the age of Aries, and Keone and I talk about some of the shifts that happened that led to our imbalanced experience of the age of Aries and Mars. But as we moved into the age of Aries, we moved into the time of the shift into the patriarchal paradigms. We moved into a time where Mars energy became increasingly more identified with war, with the warrior, with being the conqueror, with conquest, with our separation from source, our separation from the sacredness of the earth, to be caught up in this sense of ego and separation and survival of the fittest, conquer or be conquered. That is the out of balanced Mars that we're needing to heal and clear, or we're on a path of self destruction as humanity. And it's interesting as we move into the age of Aries and what's continued from those patriarchal power over paradigms up to our present time has caused us to reconfigure how we see the world, how we see each other, even how we see the meaning of these stars in the sky. So let me take you back to the visual astrology. So this star, El Nath, in the stars of Taurus, in ancient times was identified with the Apis bull in ancient Egypt, with the bulls and cows honored throughout ancient cultures and ancient India. This star was seen as the god of fire, of strength and fertility. So again, coming from this paradigm of honoring the sacredness of the earth and the sacred feminine and our sense of being protected and nurtured by these cosmic energies that are with us and overseeing us. But as we moved into the age of Aries, our view of the bull morphs. It becomes the symbol of aggression, of dominance. We have the conquistador and the mad bulls in this competition and effort for conquest. We have these terms in our culture about bullying, having power over or abusing someone. We have the bull market in terms of the stock market. We have the bull's eye as a target. We have all these images and symbols in our culture, these horns as a weapon and the bull as an animal of aggression and rage. That is our age of Aries projection onto these stars that held this deeper meaning of creation, fertility, protection. And Elnath is also part of Auriga, this constellation that in the age of Aries became associated with the charioteer going to war. But in more ancient times, this was seen as part of the sky herd, these sacred bulls and cows of the sky. And Capella, the brightest star in this constellation, was seen as a protector, as a sacred star that was guiding us in our journey of evolution and our phases of moving through the year and the time of fertility and the time of growth and our own journeys of life, death, rebirth. So as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, let's be conscious of those projections that we put on each other, we even put on the stars and the sky, coming from the ways in which we've been enculturated and shaped by these patriarchal power over paradigms. And let's reclaim indigenous wisdom, reclaim ancient wisdom from these past cultures to guide us in moving in to the age of Aquarius in a more balanced way. It's interesting also that the Sabian symbol for the moon at the time of the full moon is about clearing reactivity to be in balance. This moon at El Nath is saying, look at how you're perceiving yourself, each other, and the world. Come back into that ancient wisdom. Let go of aggression, power over reactivity. Come back into balance. And the Sabian symbol for the sun at 23 degrees of Sagittarius is about finding inner peace and radiating beauty. It is about being in spiritual expansiveness. So, coming back to the chart, we can now see that this T square is about dissolving Neptune, these beliefs from the past, opening to our connection with Source and that spiritual expansion that Neptune can bring to guide us in seeing the world in a new way, in seeing through new eyes, in seeing through the eyes of our soul selves, and connecting to the energy of that eighth chakra, and then allowing our old ways of reactivity and thinking to dissolve, to come back into balance. And then if you complete the T square to make a grand square with the point opposite Neptune, to bring this into full balance and integration, the opposition to Neptune would be at 27 degrees of Virgo. What are we bringing into form and manifesting from these new ways of visualizing and of seeing ourselves and the world? In looking at some of the other points in the chart that seem to underscore these themes, we actually, when we bring in some of the other asteroids and Kuiper Belt objects, we actually now have a grand trine at the time of this full moon with Jupiter in Gemini, with Chariklo at 14 degrees of Aquarius, and with Black Moon Lilith and Maki Maki in Libra. I think Jupiter is guiding us. It's retrograde. It's guiding us to reflect on our beliefs and forming new ways of thinking and perceiving our reality. And Chariklo is supporting us in healing and holding that sacred presence and stillness and compassion that allows us to actually see each other more clearly, see each other in our authenticity, and open to the healing of the cosmos. And then Black Moon Lilith is very much about how are we in relationship in a mutual, balanced way. And Black Moon Lilith represents the wisdom of the sacred feminine that refuses to be suppressed and repressed and is calling us back into balance. And Maki Maki, that creation deity of the Rapa Nui people of Easter Island, is about how are we also remembering how to be in right relationship with the sacredness of the earth. And that's also underscored by Ceres continuing to be here in conjunction with Pluto. Ceres, the asteroid that is about our connection with the earth and the nurturance of the earth. And it is in between Pluto and Venus and opposite Mars. So how we reintegrate those energies of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine affect how we are in relationship with each other and how we are in relationship with the earth. This is a critical time as we're moving into the age of Aquarius. This is a karmic choice point, and we as humanity can heal and shift out of the paradigms of the past to move into the age of Aquarius in a balanced way, which will redefine how we are in relationship with each other, reconfigure how we see ourselves, and reshape how we are in relationship with the life around us. We are in such a turbulent time as we're in these experiences of the shifts in our consciousness and the paradigm shifts. So as I've talked about in past videos, we're seeing the backlash to that and the efforts by some to cling to the paradigms of the past in an even more extreme way. It feels to me like some of what we're seeing in the collective consciousness are the extreme paradigms of out of balanced Mars, of this polarization between the masculine and the feminine, this sense of separation and out of balanced Aries energy that is about conquer or be conquer. So we need to see that that is the shadow aspects of humanity that are needing to clear, release, dissolve as we honor and experience this Neptunian energy, supporting us in letting go of these paradigms from the past and in being very conscious of how we are aligning with and connecting with cosmic consciousness to be dreaming new ways of being into manifestation. We can do this in community as we collaborate with each other, as we reconnect with each other and form this soul tribe around the globe, committed to seeing through the eyes of our soul selves, perceiving the world through the energies of cosmic consciousness, and redefining who we are as humans and how we are in relationship with each other and the life around us. As I'm doing this video, and it's been hard for me to actually focus on doing this video today, in that I'm honoring the transition and death of a dear friend, Elisabet Sahtouris, who many of you have heard my interviews with her. And she and I became very close in these last few years. And I so want to honor and hold deep gratitude for her work as a visionary, as an evolution biologist, as a courageous voice in the world for our need to come back into balance with the life around us. She has been so passionate in speaking to us as humanity and our need to mature as a species, to come back into that understanding of interconnectedness and interdependence with the life around us, to remember the sacredness of the earth. So I honor her and remember her and continue to carry her and her vision and her voice and her courage in my heart. And I think we all can be supported and guided by her messages to us to support us in dreaming in these new ways of being and dreaming in the new earth that is in balance and is in harmony. And what does that mean? And what does it mean to rebalance the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine? Keone and I have had earlier conversations about this, and I'm deeply moved by his understanding that the grounding of our being needs to be in our connection with the sacred feminine. And think of how the age of Taurus, ruled by Venus, was the age before the age of Aries, ruled by Mars. We need to honor that energy of the sacred feminine that is guiding us in seeing everything as sacred and being in right relationship with ourselves and each other. The age of Taurus was not about matriarchal culture. It wasn't a flip of patriarchy where now we had the sacred feminine in domination. The age of Taurus was this awareness of the honoring of the great mother Earth that births us and nurtures us, the great mother cosmos that has birthed all that is. That energy of the sacred feminine then comes into form and manifestation, and then allows that energy of the sacred masculine to be the active manifestation and expression based on that energy of right relationship, of nurturance, of fertility, of creation, to be in individual expression in a variety of ways. It becomes how we act, coming from being grounded in the love of the cosmos and the sacredness of the earth. But if we disconnect Mars from the sacred feminine, it quickly becomes out of balance and gets caught in survival mentality, and then act, react, conquer, kill, be killed. It spins out of balance. So part of what we need to be aware of to move into the age of Aquarius is how we dissolve these paradigms from the past. We're not trying to reconfigure or rework the old paradigms. We're letting them dissolve. And we're not trying to move back into the past to recreate the paradigms of earlier ages. We're called to move into the age of Aquarius and birth new ways of seeing and being, and new beliefs and new paradigms, new ways of acting, new ways of being humanity and of being in a new earth together. And that means coming back into grounding ourselves in the wisdom of the earth, opening with the energy of our eighth chakra to the wisdom of the sky, aligning with our soul selves to then allow our actions to come from a place of balance and harmony, alignment with truth and love, alignment with the paradigms of Aquarius, sovereignty of the self, in the sanctity of community, in unity with cosmic consciousness, to come from that integration of truth and love to manifest balance and harmony in all that we do. And we're still in this time of the lunar nodes being South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries. Come back into balance to manifest these new forms. As we're in this transition time, I know I have been feeling that experience sometimes of being between the worlds and feeling that the veils between the worlds are thinning, and feeling this increasing disconnect between the turbulence in the third dimensional reality and the increasing spiritual awakening and movement into higher consciousness of fifth dimensional reality. We are holding that bridge right now, those of us who are coming from a place of living consciously and honoring this transition into the age of Aquarius. And this full moon is saying you're not necessarily going to see the new forms, but be in the time of dreaming, be in the time of visualizing, honor the dissolving of what needs to die, to be in the dream time, as we talked about with the new moon, to be in the chrysalis, being in the formation of what is to come. And I think it's critical for us as a community to support each other in that. And I know my friend Pam Gregory is holding a meditation time Sundays at 7 p.m. UK time. So check where that is, wherever you are in the world. I encourage us all to gather for that 15-minute time of meditation, to be dreaming in and envisioning this new earth together. I also encourage you to honor the energies of the lunar cycle, to remember that the new moon is a time of opening to guidance from cosmic consciousness, to dreaming in what needs to be birthed, to then be getting more clarity about it, to more fully manifest it at the time of the full moon, to then emanate that light out to others, to honor the ending of that cycle, to dream in a new cycle. So I think part of what's important as we're moving into this age of Aquarius is come back into those rhythms of the sun, of the moon, of the earth, of the sky. Coming back into connection with these energies supports us in coming back into harmony and coming back into balance. I'll be talking more in an upcoming video about the meaning of this winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere, summer solstice in the southern hemisphere on December 21st, and how powerful this solstice time is for all of us as we're ending this year on the earth plane to move into a new calendar year, but we're also honoring another profound shift in our cycle, in the solar cycle. So this full moon, December 15th, is 6 days before the winter solstice. And then we have another new moon coming December 30th, guiding us even more fully into how we can continue to be letting these old forms die and dreaming in the new ways of being. So blessings and love to all of you, and let's allow this time of the full moon to be a time for dreaming, to be a time for attuning to our hearts and our soul selves, to be allowing the guidance from this full moon, the guidance of cosmic consciousness, to support us in dissolving what we need to release and being in that openness, being in that spiritual expansiveness that can help us hear the wisdom of the stars and planets, feel the energies coming to us from the wisdom of the earth to help us align with these new paradigms that we're moving into that are about love and wisdom and truth and justice and collaboration and being in right relationship with all that is. Our collective consciousness will shift as we shift our paradigms, as we visualize these new ways of being, as we come into balance, that will emanate out to the collective consciousness. So let's not get caught in the turbulence and in the storminess. Keep doing the practices that support you in coming back to center. I encourage you to work with the medicine wheel practice. It's a profound way of staying centered in the stormy times. And let's keep dreaming in these new ways of being together, with and for each other, and for the earth. Blessed be. Blessings and love to all of you.